Do 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 do. Yo 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 yo. Late night, late night, late night. What's poppin' with everybody? It's your man 3K the boss. Y'all already know the lingo. Missed it, cost you nothing. You know what I'm saying? I just feel like I just wanted to pop in and politic with the people, man. Touch bases, you know what I'm saying? Talk to some familiar faces. See if we got anybody gonna pull up. And then we can pop off. And all that good shit. You know what I'm saying? Got Demetrius Andre. I want to talk about Demetrius Andre, man. I want to talk about Demetrius Andre and his choices he making, man, and how everybody feel about that, man. Cause like I mean, I really wanted to see that man fight John Beck, man. I really wanted to see that man fight John Beck, and I mean him going up to 168. That's cool, you know. But it just looks weird for me right now that you're going up to 168 pounds. I know they ain't, implementing the fight, giving you your run to fight Canelo off the break. Cause Zach Parker been sitting there. He been waiting for a while as a mandatory. So you got to, dispatch him first if you even want a shot at Canelo. And I mean, he definitely shout out to Jared Hilliard. He made the right move, but I just really wanted to see that fight. I'm just saying, considering all of the fights that we got out of Demetrius Andre recently, you know what I'm saying? Them joints they was washes, man. It's like, you know what I'm saying? I wanted to see him do something with a guy that, dispatched Rob Brandt and the way he dispatched Rob Brandt, you know what I'm saying? The way he did in Dime and all of those guys, considering what, John Beck only got like 12 fights with him. You know what I'm saying? Real solid cat underneath, you know what I'm saying, the tutelage of Buddy McGirt. So that would have been a real good one for me, And I definitely feel as though he making the right move, but it's a constant, you know what I'm saying? It's a constant, we've seen from 154 all the way up to 160, this dude don't want to fight you. My thing is, it's just like, why is the world, I have no problem with it, even though I consider it a duck, because I'm like, yo, he could have did this shit a minute ago. You know what I'm saying? My whole thing is, like, why is the whole fucking world, like, act like it's a problem for him to want to fight with Canelo? I don't get it. Like, why are we, since when did we get to this point to where it's like, yo, if you're a champion, and we know boxing is all the way fucked up. We know boxing likes to, play the, protect the baby role and stop people from fighting certain individuals. So, politics play a whole part of it. So you got to do what you got to do if you want to get certain fights. I don't feel like people should be taking no attitude or motherfuckers should be coming out and acting like, motherfuckers don't have the right to challenge this guy. Like, since when in boxing does niggas not have the right to challenge the fucking champion? You know what I'm saying? He's a champion himself. I just think it's doo-doo, man. And I think when niggas do that, it just really show me where they at as far as, fans, because if anybody see Demetrius Andre as a great fighter, or if you perceive him to be a threat, and if you look at everybody around Demetrius Andre from every division he was at 154, he wanted to smoke with Lara. He wanted to smoke with all them niggas. They all made different choices. They all got behind their promotion and they decided to make different choices. So this man moves up, continuously moves up. My whole thing is, if he hit 168, is he gonna face the same roadblock? You know what I'm saying? And it's just corny to me how dudes play these roles to where it's like, yo, Canelo's this fucking, like, he's this mythical fucking character that you just can't even challenge. Like, he's so above and beyond approach. Like, when in boxing has it got to this point? Like, I was listening recently, Shakur Stevenson and Chris Colbert talk. And, I like Chris Colbert, but I don't think Chris Colbert can beat Shakur Stevenson. I think Shakur Stevenson will beat the fuck out of Chris Colbert and quite possibly stop him. You know what I'm saying? Like, really, really stop him. And then when I'm listening to these dudes talk, and this dude's got a WBA interim title, you about to fight Robert Gutierrez, who got his belt off of a bum-ass Rene Alvarado. You know what I'm saying? Like, when was that shit? That shit was, I think that fight took place, wasn't that on the Luke Campbell, what card was that? That was Luke Campbell versus Ryan Garcia. You know what I'm saying? When he won that title off Alvarado. So I'm looking at all these things. I'm listening to the conversation they having, and you hear Chris Colbert on the PBC side talking about, I'm Al Heyman, so it's going to be, so the fight going to be 50-50. It's going to be a 50-50 fight when Shakur Stevenson trying to unify titles, and if he come into it with 2 titles, you only got the interim ready to fight a dude like Gutierrez. I'm like, yo, how the fuck how could you even talk like you deserve 50-50 in that fight? Now, you know what I'm saying? Like 60-40, if 60-40 is what it is, like you should be happy that nigga willing to give you 60-40. So basically what I'm saying is, it shows me a consistent level of constant, you know what I'm saying, issue that create roadblocks when you look at the landscape of 130 pounds, you look at the landscape of 168 pounds, you already know that, you know, Canelo done washed out 168. You got Jamal Charlo sitting at 160. That quite possibly could be the fight on what they call Cinco de Nello and all of that shit. And like, these dudes is trying to come up and get a fight with this guy. Why are people feeling some type of way about that shit? Shout out to Ronald Feakley with the super chat. Appreciate you, Brody. He was like, the fight is this fight he wants is with an undefeated fighter with KO power. You know what I mean? Like, and like, I can't even hate on Demetrius Andre, because if you look at it, with him relinquishing the title at 160 pounds, it's like, yo, automatically niggas are shitting on Zach Parker. You know what I'm saying? Zach Parker, number one, he number one in that spot. So it's like, you know what I mean? Regardless, I feel like no matter what Demetrius Andre do, even if he did beat John Beck, what does that say about John Beck being a fucking 12-win fighter? Like, what is, you know what I'm saying? John Beck beat Rob Brandt, okay, cool. But, you know, even in that regard, it's like, yo, you going to chase, it's like a double-edged sword. Because I look at it like a duck. But are you going to chase John Beck? Or are you going to sit around for a mandatory for John Beck? Or are you going to pull a trigger when it's opportune time, when you know this dude really not trying to do the, my bad, y'all, my girl hitting me and shit. He's really not, it don't really look like Canelo, right or wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, y'all, but it don't really look like Canelo really trying to do nothing at 175. And I feel like if he was to do something at 175, I feel like he would try to go the rough, rugged, and safe route and try to fight a Joe Smith. You know what I'm saying? So it seemed like, you know, pulling one of these guys up from so-called, you know, pulling Jamal Charlo up at 160 pounds, I feel like he would dog Jamal Charlo, but it definitely looked better in the sense of, yo, it'd be like, yo, to quiet down the talks of what people are talking about. So I can't really, you know what I'm saying, fault Demetrius Andre for doing exactly what he should be doing. You know what I'm saying? Position yourself to be in the best position to fight whoever is, you know what I'm saying, considered the big dog. And like, how can you hate on a nigga for going after the big dog? Right or wrong? Are you supposed to, like, should we give Demetrius Andre his respect for going after a big dog, or is boxing a game of, you know what I'm saying, what have you done for me lately if you're a champion? I understand the business side of it, I understand the money side of it or whatever, but in the same breath, have we not heard people consistently say, why is he not exercising, you know what I'm saying, his WBO option? Why ain't he exercise his WBO option? Why isn't he exercise that option? Over and over again, several different ways. He was recently on Ring IQ and people wanted the same thing. So now that he's doing such, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think he'll beat Zach Parker. You know what I'm saying? I think he'll knock him out. And I think if he knocks Zach Parker out at 168 pounds, I just think that just makes a case for his power. I just think it makes a case that he went up there, you stopped the number one guy who was positioned to fight Canelo Alvarez as the undisputed champion. Why not do what you do? You feel me? Charlo was never going. Shout out to Gabe Lopez. It said 160 is the run of the division now. Yo, like 160 look crazy. Like 160 look crazy, and you know, I see what Eddie Hearn trying to do. And then here's another thing. Here's some more news on that. Just came out about 3 hours ago. Eddie Hearn offered Canelo Alvarez, is offering Canelo Alvarez a 2-fight deal. He's offering Dimitri Bivol and he's offering him Triple G. Now there's big money in line in that, but there's big danger in line in that as well. You know what I'm saying? Dimitri Bivol ain't nothing to scoff at. He ain't nothing to play with, and he damn sure ain't nobody to fuck with. Because if you go in that direction, like, yo, you already know how I feel about that. If he go in that direction and he beats that guy, I ain't got nothing but great things to say about Canelo. Because here's the deal. If here's the double-edged sword, correct me if I'm wrong. So if everybody wanted to see Demetrius Andre fight Jonabek, and him not fighting Jonabek is a duck, what the fuck has Dimitri Bivol really done, you know what I'm saying, in a sense to warrant, you know, such a discussion to where, you know, we should be feeling like it's any different for any one of the fighters that he's entertaining right now. So what is it about Demetrius Andre that makes it to where Demetrius Andre has to do so much more with anybody that he chooses right now, whether it's a Lunga Mukabu and he goes up to cruiser, and we know he got starched by Tony Bellew in 3 rounds. Whether it's Jamal Charlo and his best win on his record is Sergey Derevyanchenko, or whether it's Demetrius Andre and his best win on his record is Liam Williams. You know what I'm saying? Dimitri Bivol, his best win on his record is a rough and rugged world champion Joe Smith at the WBO, but he dispatched of him easily. So regardless of however we look at it, there's really no fucking difference here. You know what I'm saying? I just don't like the whole attitude people take when it's just like, yo, motherfuckers need to do this and that and this and that. You know, as a challenger, you should want to fight the champion. He was like, I watched Donna McIntyre last fight. Andre would have mollywhopped that dude from what I saw. You know, I think Andre has more than enough movements and the capability to deal with a guy like John Beck. I just think John Beck stands firm in his stance, you know what I'm saying? He's real poised, he's a boxer, puncher, you know, and I think he presents problems to anybody. I just think that, you know, Demetrius Andre, in the long run, when it comes to the movement and him getting around the ring, I think that'll present a lot of problems for him. And I just think that devastating uppercut that Demetrius Andre pack, I just think that'll probably, you know, be the X factor in that situation. Now, would it have been an absolute dogfight and a firefight and would have been something great for TV? Absolutely. That's what I wanted, you know, because I feel like John Beck, he's going to be a champion at 160 pounds. There's no way you can slice it. He's going to be a champion, and he's going to give a lot of motherfuckers hell. I just felt like it would have been a great fight, but on the business aspect of it, and for the individual that you were chasing, and you were making it a case to go up to 168 because you want the biggest fucking guy in boxing and who was considered to be boxing's #1 pound for pound fighter on a lot of people's list. I feel like there should be nothing, you can't say shit about that, especially if you're going up and you're fighting the #1 guy in the ranking going up to 168 pounds when most motherfuckers, when they go up in weight, they're going to take a soft touch first. Like, let's think about it like this. When Alexander Usyk went up to heavyweight, what did he do before he ever got to Anthony Joshua? Who did he fight? He fought fucking Chaz Witherspoon, who was an absolute fucking potato salad body nobody. You know, and he went several rounds with him before he softened them up. Then he fought a Derek Chisora, who was, you know what I'm saying, who's a warrior in his own right, you know, not the same individual he was, but still always presents some form of problem. And then he got to an Anthony Joshua. It's not like these dudes just coming up in weight and they just fighting the #1, you know what I'm saying, challenger in this division or that division before they go at a certain guy. So I just feel like the criticism kind of, you know what I'm saying, it's kind of fluff to me. I don't know how everybody else feels about that. But I feel like the criticism is fluff. You know what I'm saying? He's like, fuck that belt. It was like, I stand with the real. He tried, they duck. You know what I'm saying? Demetrius Andre has been trying since 154. And my whole thing is this, you know, when we talk about individuals, you know, Canelo is fought, and let's not get this twisted. This isn't a Canelo bashing session, you know what I'm saying? Because I believe it or not, I got a lot of respect for Canelo, as well as I'm sure we all do. You know, but let's be serious here. Canelo chose to fight a James Kirkland who's been out the ring for 2 fucking years on a catch weight, and nobody says anything about that. So it's just like, you know, what are we talking about? And like that wasn't draft season shit. Get paid for an ass whipping because you take an ass whipping like a man in front of everyone on social media, or you really try for a title, which is hard work. Best boxers are overlooked. I agree with that 100%, Patrick Dyson. It's just like this. Like, look, man. Like, I feel like, you know, boxers should be respected on all fronts. You know what I'm saying? Whether you're a champion and your resume looks slim. And there's a reason why. And do we ever, you know what I'm saying, think of, you know what I mean, like the 180 style of thinking? Like in a sense to where it's just like maybe certain individuals aren't getting certain fights because they present certain problems in the politics of whatever, the other promotional outfit has to offer. Because I can look at a lot of individuals in boxing right now who are absolute fucking threats, and these dudes are sidelined on a consistent basis, and they don't get the fights that they want to get because they present problems. So it's kind of like you damned if you do, damned if you don't. My whole thing is like, what are we gonna do? How do we get past that? And what are we going to do to get in a position to where that shit becomes null and void, and we can dismiss that shit, and we can just see the shit that we want to see? Because fans got to understand, we as fans and consumers got to understand the part that we play in it too. Because if every time something, majestic can happen in the sport, or every time something can happen that's going to present some true grit in the sport, and motherfuckers are always talking about, yo, he ain't done this or he ain't done that. Yo, you're presenting a roadblock and you're making it easy for promotional outfits to do what they do. I'm looking at 130 pounds all the way up to 170 freaking 5 right now. And tell me, you know what I'm saying, the division isn't lit with motherfucking talent, and it's all stalemates. It's all stalemates if promotional outfits aren't having their fighters entertain their fighters on that end. So I'm just saying the excuses for why people shouldn't have to fight, like, yo, people got to get away from that shit and like, let's not entertain that bullshit. Because I don't come from, you know what I'm saying, when I grew up, just as well as a bunch of y'all grew up, we didn't come from no era in boxing where motherfuckers just, you know what I'm saying, dismiss a great talent based off of eye test and based on, you know what I'm saying, however he dispatched whoever was in front of him and sat up there and say, yo, we didn't want to see these dudes fight. Nah, these dudes are going to fight them. If you're number one on the list, whether it's on a mandatory side or whether, you know what I'm saying, you're a champion, you should be entertaining other champions. You should be fighting other guys. Now, you know what I'm saying, now there's certain cases in boxing where, of course, guys who have done certain things, yeah, they should be able to, take certain opportunities to have more lucrative pays and line their pockets with certain big fights or what certain people would consider novelties in a sense. Or, you know what I'm saying, in Canelo's defense, you know what I mean, like, people feel as though he's done so much, he has the ability to pick and choose, which I get that. But how much picking and choosing has the public, you know what I'm saying, already been subjected to, where it's just like, bro, if we truly feel as though you can beat this motherfucker and you can dog this motherfucker, if it's a great fight, what difference does it make? You know what I'm saying? Kimbo Slice, get it out the mud, make your own plate. Man, look, I feel like everybody, in their own way, trying to make their own plate in boxing. And I don't hate on nobody that's really doing that. But for the ones that's not, those are the motherfuckers that we really should be scolding in a sense. Because when I hear a person yelling Triple G name, when I see Billy Joe Saunders, who had the opposite, because we got to keep this in mind too. Was Billy Joe Saunders not supposed to fight Demetrius Andrade? And what did Billy Joe Saunders choose to do when that fight was supposed to be on the table? And that would probably, with the Liam Williams, you know what I'm saying, with the Shaleckis and all of that shit, what would that do for Demetrius Andrade's record right now? Because if Triple G chose to curve motherfucking Sergey Derevyanchenko and fight Cesar Meta, and then still have to come around and fight Sergey Derevyanchenko again and go life or death, it kind of tells me certain things. Because Triple G has not fought since 2020. Billy Joe Saunders don't want to fight motherfucking Demetrius Andrade. Had the opportunity to fight him, and he chose to do drugs because he was probably fearful of what was going to happen in the ring with that tricky, powerful southpaw. So at the end of the day, it's just like, bro, we can't sit up here and act like this man just wasn't trying to do something from 154 all the way to 168. Well, 160. Bivol would give Canelo serious problems, but I see him beating Triple G at the stage in his career. Absolutely. That's a fight that I don't even understand why Canelo would entertain. And to be perfectly quite honest, for me, I feel like, the Dimitri Bivol fight, that's the war. But the Triple G fight, that's the easy street fight. But if you get past a Dimitri Bivol, I have no problem with you fighting Triple G at all. I have no problem with you fighting that gentleman, because you have proved to me why I should herald you a special individual. And if you fighting a guy like Dimitri Bivol and you beat a mover, a power puncher, a guy who presents all of the proper elements in boxing to give you hell, I have nothing but great things to say about you. I've been saying this for how long, y'all? That is the one person I feel as though that would beat Canelo Alvarez, and that's all I want out of him. Now, as a boxing fan, people probably try to criticize me for the things that I say about these individuals, but you got to understand, you can't get the positions in greatness in boxing if you don't demand greatness out of fighters. If you sit back and you just happy with everything that they doing, say these motherfuckers could be giving you jello ass fights, and I mean shit, you want something a little bit tougher than that. You don't want something soft like that. You want something a little tougher than that. So for me, all I demand is greatness out of what we perceive to be the greatest fighters that are presented today. So all I'm saying is, yeah, if he took that 2-fight contract and this Dimitri Bivol, I'm cool with that. But it's just like, come on, man, we can't just be dismissive of, Boxing News 24. We can't be dismissive of The Zone. We can't be dismissive of every motherfucking channel, honoring up, the dodgy tactics that certain champions have been doing. We can't be dismissive of the fact that Triple G sat on the sideline for fucking 2 years. He could have had that fight, they could have unified titles. Instead, he's sitting around waiting for an easy touch with Raul Murata. I'm just saying, it's just funny to me. It's just funny, but then people act like, oh, what the hell is this person doing, and what is that person doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, bro. But at the end of the day, it's just like, yo, like I said the other day, people criticize Gary Russell like a motherfucker, but all Gary Russell wanted was the big fights in his division, the unified fights in his division. But he called Gardner on Gary, but when the fuck you heard somebody call Triple G Gardner on Gennady? I have to say it, because I'm just like, yo, in some way we got to keep the scales balanced in boxing, man. And I don't feel like the scales is too balanced at all, man. Definitely follow your own destiny for sure. Like, love you, fam. Talk to these. I follow my favorite fighter regardless of these niggas. Like, you got to. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a must, man. Like, at the end of the day, I have no individual problem with no boxer, but I have a problem with the practice. I have a problem with the practice of the sport, and I have a problem with individuals who want to, who are perceived a certain way, but they're not truly given that. But we can sit up here and talk about one guy a certain way, but we're not going to talk about the other guys a certain way, considering they're moving in that exact same light. All I'm saying, boxing should be an equal opportunity program as far as how we throw out, our rhetoric, instead of, trying to sideline our commentary when it comes to certain individuals we favor. Because y'all, people used to consider me like an Anthony Joshua lover or something like that. But when it came down to Anthony Joshua fighting Alexander Usyk, anything shaky about him, I gave him the blues. I gave him the blues. I didn't sugarcoat nothing for him. I didn't try to make anything to where it was sweet for Anthony Joshua, soft in the landing for Anthony Joshua, any fighter. So how can you expect me to do that with Canelo if I do that with any other fighter? How could you expect me to do that with Andre if I do it for any other fighter? Because I said it. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to see Andre fight Johnny Beck. But, because to me, I look at it like a duck. Because in my eyes, you could have made that decision before you made it now. And you chose not to. You knew he was at 168. I feel like, it was just a fight that I really wanted to see. It's just a bummer for me, but I can't sit up there and act like what he's doing right now doesn't make any sense. Honestly, it makes the best sense considering, and I know a lot of that has to do with saying, I don't think that, and let me make this very clear, I don't think that it's not that Demetrius Andre won't fight Johnny Beck. I don't want to butcher his last name. I think that Eddie Hearn made it very clear that on the business aspect of it and imposing danger, it made more sense for him to go up to 168 pounds now, because if you really want Canelo, you have the power and you have the position, and it's the opportune time to try to catch him. And if it doesn't come to fruition, we completely understand why it doesn't happen. Toughest fight this weekend, Robinson Conceição versus Xavier Martinez, WBC Junior Lightweight title eliminator. Yeah, I'm tuning in, man. Can't wait to see it. Exactly, agreed. I don't look at Wilder losing more than I feel appreciative. I saw a war well worth it. It was absolutely a great fight, and regardless of how we feel about it and not wanting to see it or feeling like Howard Clark, do you know the heavyweight pipeline, it still was entertaining. And regardless of how we want to look at it, you know they were going to do whatever the fuck they wanted to do regardless, man. And I mean they've been playing the game of keep away from Anthony Joshua since when? About 2018. Shit. 2019. It's been a game to keep away from Anthony Joshua since he beat since he beat fucking Vladimir. That's what boxing is about. When I seen Bruce Seldon lose, we gave him the business in Atlantic City. For sure. For sure. And shout out to Bruce Seldon. Mike Tyson went in quick and got Seldon up out of there. He really did. He really did. You know what I'm saying? Bruce, former world champ, you know what I'm saying? Like, and that's one of, you know what I'm saying, the ones that, you know, we give Mike Tyson a lot of credit for on his record. New boxing league, after WBO, WBC, all starting to be like NCAA football. Put up or shut up, no holding the greats. Hey, big, should be on site. Walk with a contract in that WWF, WCW. That's it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm starting to feel like boxing is, you know what I'm saying? Look, the crazy thing is I put out a post and I said, you know, boxing kind of I'm like, yo, you get more viewership out of wrestling than you do out of boxing, because boxing presents a lot of fake-ass problems. At least with wrestling, you know what I'm saying? You know, it might be fake, it might be sports entertainment, but the contact is real, and you're going to see the people you want to see entertain these fights. But in boxing, it seems like we get a lot more social media. We get a lot more social media fights than a lot of real fights. My thing is, you know what I'm saying, shout out to the champ, you know, for doing what he should be doing, positioning himself to fight, you know what I mean, the best was supposed to be the biggest threat in fucking boxing, and everybody is sitting up there like, oh my God, they need to be doing this and that against one another, and then we should decide who fights Canelo. Man, what the fuck? It's never going to be enough for his fan base, no matter what. Unless it's a voluntary decision of something that Canelo wants to do himself. Tell me here, right now, right or wrong, if it's ever going to be enough for his fan base. And if anybody tells me different, I would just have to say respectfully, I disagree. Because no matter what Canelo, unless Canelo is physically picking and choosing that individual, it's not going to be good enough. And people are going to criticize and they're going to chastise all the way to the motherfucking bank because they're not satisfied and they're not happy with the fact that people are feeling, or they take this shit mentally, like they feel as though people are coming from a place where they feel like they're deserving to fight this individual, instead of looking at the sport for how the sport is supposed to be looked at, when champions should be challenged champions, and people who we feel as though are blue chip fighters or blue chip prospects, no different than Wilfred Benitez winning this fucking title at 17. Why are we ever going to try to clip these individuals' wings for trying to be great? I feel like in any aspect in life or in any walk of life, shouldn't we be striving for fucking greatness? Or shouldn't we want to challenge, you know, the greatest or toughest fighters out there? And if it is, and if it's such a large task, you know, we should be coming from a David and Goliath kind of perspective, and we should be appreciative of whatever the fuck it is, instead of downplaying it, dismissing it, and trying to Shaquille O'Neal straight block that shit with a Dikembe Mutombo. No. I'm just like, look, no, it just seems to me, no matter what the situation is for a challenger, when it comes to somebody that is favored, it is never good enough, and it's always a situation of how dare you. That's why I said, you know what I'm saying, that's why I put in the title, you know, for a champion, you know, it's, you know what I'm saying, champions have options, and for, you know what I'm saying, challengers, how dare you? Because that's what it seems like to be the consistent, you know, pot of gumbo that, you know, the fandom in boxing wants to consistently whip up. And I've been always prone to try to be the individual to say, like, yo, let's not do that. Let's not do that, because people don't see how motherfucking far that shit is pushed, you know what I'm saying, the sport in such a bad direction. I mean, the only difference between, you know what I'm saying, like the Manny Pacquiao and Floyd era is, you got to see a lot of motherfucking great fighters fight great fighters. It ain't like right now. You know, Manny Pacquiao, that motherfucker went from what? That motherfucker went from Diaz to goddamn Clyde to fucking god damn it, the nigga with the shit in his gloves, fucking cheating motherfucker. What he fought when Canelo went, he jumped up. I mean, I'm sorry, when Manny Pacquiao jumped up from 140 to 154 pounds, and he fought the dude who cheated against Shane Mosley, got caught by Nassim Muhammad. Y'all know who I'm talking about. God damn it, just because I want to say it right now. Fight a lot like goddamn Marcus Maidana. Y'all know who I'm talking about. BJ Ben, what's goody? Margarito. That's a big difference then, you know what I'm saying? Even though we didn't get to see Floyd, and Manny wouldn't want to see it because politics or whatever, but you got to see Manny fight consistent fucking great talent up and down. 135 to all the way to 154, back to 140, 147, whether it was De La Hoya, freaking, you name it, Ricky Hatton, all of these dudes. But you're not going to get that. We're not getting that activity now. So I'm just saying, it's just like, yo, like, we got to really tone that back. It's not fucking, it's like, yo, this shouldn't, boxing has never been a picking and choosing lifestyle. And fandom shouldn't be like a fan of a picking and choosing type of lifestyle. It should be like, yo, like, let's warrant what we see them for what they really are, and let's push them in the position to where, you know what I'm saying, we know we're going to get great viewership. Above and beyond, like, I just think that now, like, so people are, correct me if I'm wrong, but I kind of feel like people are taking this in the stance they're taking in the situation, and they looking at fucking Demetrius Andre going up to 168 pounds. Like, how fucking dare you? How dare you? You didn't entertain John Beck, but you're going after Canelo, and you're going to fight Zach Parker, who's #1 in the WBO, and you're going up to 168 pounds to do it. How dare you? Do we not see what's wrong? Like, does nobody see what's wrong with this? Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm tripping. But I see something completely conflicted and something absolutely, like, contrite and, like, really, really weird about every motherfucking thing motherfuckers are saying. It's weird to me. I don't understand it. Like, if it's easy, show it's easy. And if we feel as though it's tough, let's just play. Like, why don't we want to see it? Why don't we want to see it? You want to know what I think, y'all? This is what I truly believe. I think the only individuals that don't want to see it are threatened to what it could do to their fucking bottom line, or threatened to what it could do to their ego, or the movement that they trying to push currently in the state of boxing. Maybe I'm wrong, but maybe I'm right. I feel like, you know, since when did we start neglecting heart? Because I thought this whole sport was built off, you know what I'm saying, a warrior spirit, man. Bushido shit. Warrior's heart. Like, so now we're gonna take the ways of the Shogun, we're gonna take the ways of the Bushido, we're gonna take a fighter's heart, and we're gonna push all of that to the side, because in people's mind there's a level of self-entitlement for who they favor. Or am I wrong about that? I don't know. But from my perspective, hypothetically speaking, that is how I truly feel like we sit in the sport right now. And it's a very fucking slippery slope when we start to do that. Because we already have guys who already feel like this. And that's the reason why we don't have a level of entertainment. So what you do for one, it can't only be acceptable on one end and not be acceptable on the other end as well. Because if he's allowed to do it, then they should be allowed to do it as well. Or maybe I'm tripping. Because in some way, shape, or form, everybody earning their stripes. And for those who aren't earning their stripes, I can honestly say that there is some form of speed bump, or better yet, even bigger roadblock standing in the way of impeding that progress. Like, for real, I know for a fact at 130 pounds, we're gonna see some messy shit when we should be on the verge after February 26th of seeing top tier, literally like 130 pound, like from 1980 to fucking like the early 2000s 130-pound greatness in the super feather. Some spooky shit, man. Lomachenko want to fight Mayweather. Only go for wins with money. This boy not ready. Yeah, I feel like that whole. I feel like that whole Tank Davis. Man, Tank Davis going to do everything in his pocket. Like, and honestly, how do I want to put this? Should Tank Davis fight Lomachenko right now? I don't even think that would be the best option for him. Honestly, I feel like one of two things could happen in that fight. Tank could get severely outboxed, or Tank could knock him the fuck out. It's a true 50-50 fight. But everything I do, I base it down to the sweet science of boxing. I base it all off of movement, I base it off of flow, I base it off of output, I base it off of mentality, and all of that shit. Tank has a very leaky defense, so that leaves Tank very vulnerable, especially from what we saw from Isaac Cruz, from what we saw from Leo Santa Cruz, and what we saw from other individuals. It leaves him, he's very different from the individual who fought Jose Pedraza when he won his first world title. With that leaky defense, and considering that, Isaac Cruz had a beard, right or wrong, but he was a very limited fighter. Now you take a fighter with skills, with higher IQ, with a much higher freaking offensive output, with a very, you know what I'm saying, with a very, very good defensive skill set, who is a multi-weight world champion, with a amateur pedigree out of the yin yang, who does everything well, and put him in the ring with Tank. Clearly we just witnessed that knockout doesn't land all the time. So that's a very risque situation for Tank. And the way the climate of boxing is right now, if you lose, it's like the end of the fucking world. When, if I was to ask anybody, who do you respect more right now? Anthony Joshua, with the 2 losses on his record, or would you respect Tyson Fury more for what he accomplished? And who do you feel as though is a more viable threat and should get heralded more? I wonder how many people would say a Tyson Fury, because of the way boxing is set up right now, compared to an individual who has never ducked any opponent who has walked in his path. Never ducked one. So for Tank Davis, if he goes in there and that punch doesn't land, that's a very, very, very fucking dangerous. It's a dangerous position for Mayweather Promotions to be in, because he's their pay-per-view guy that they're building up, who isn't necessarily a pay-per-view star yet, but if you measure him up against the other guys, his numbers on a standalone perspective, considering if you think of the level of opponents he fights, he does better than most of his peers right now. So it would probably make more sense for Mayweather to go after Ryan Garcia, or to go after, it'd probably make more sense for him to go after Ryan Garcia right now, for real. That's a very threatening prospect for him. But it's more like it seemed like to me that more or less Tank is suffering from Floyd's success. It's like I feel like when certain people feel like if they get a hold of Tank, it's like beating Floyd. And in a lot of ways, no matter how people slice it, they just want to see Floyd lose. Whether it's Tank Davis, that's still like a loss. That's still like a fucking loss for them in the grand scheme of, well, look, if Tank got a hold of it, fucking Floyd got a hold of it as well, because the money team got a hold of it. But I feel like those type of things shouldn't be holding individuals back, considering the level of talent that's surrounded from 130 pounds. Shit, even down to 122. Shit, go down to 118. Fuck it. Like, it don't matter. It's a lot of great shit that's going on in boxing, and I feel like, what the Killers is doing down there with Estrada, Kadaris, Quadrahas, I always butcher his name. El Gallo, you know what I mean? Like, with them boys, like, compared to, you know what I'm saying? Like, what we got Nonito and Nui, and who else? Shit, you got Navarrete, Kiko Martinez, and all of them sitting there, Leo Santa Cruz and everybody. Like, I feel like, you know what I'm saying? Like, Leo, he been dodging a bunch of shit. But if you go down to 118 and down, these motherfuckers be meeting up like they on some Fab Four shit on a consistent basis. And I feel like, you know what I'm saying, boxing needs to take that stance in every single one of these divisions, man. For real, so we could relinquish that whole thought. And I think if the fans relinquish that thought of, yo, like, if a motherfucker get a loss, it's the end of the world, that just tell me where people at and their perceptions are skewed when it comes to boxing, man. But it's a fucking finicky business, man. Bob Arum did better matchmaking back then. It wasn't cherry picking. It wasn't. And believe it or not, even if you sign with Top Rank right now, he'll let you take on the competition, and he'll let you fight the tough guys. The only gripe about that whole situation is they pro is I think there's a little bit. I think Bob Arum has to have a little bit of belief there, but at the same time, if you willing to send Jose Ramirez over to fight Maurice Hooker, and you willing to do whatever with Deontay Wilder and the PBC, that just shows me a level of consistency and patterns to where, okay, individuals are more than willing to work with each other to get goals accomplished. And I don't think that Bob Arum will have a problem with prominence in the sport and then moving forward. I just think there are other individuals who have slimmer pickings than these guys. We got to think, Top Rank has all of the blue chip, you know what I'm saying, Olympic fucking amateurs, and they probably got the best, you know what I'm saying, amateur, prospect program going on in boxing. No debate. They build up, you know what I'm saying, amateur talent way better than anybody in the world. And over at the zone, they willing to throw anybody in the mix, at an early start to get them to figure out where they're at. And I think that if, if people got more acclimated with doing that again, people would understand that, look, man, if you want to be great, you're not ever going to see how great these individuals are if it's a consistent level of soft touches, and then we going to wait till the opportune time to fight a champion. Motherfuckers need to get in there and get dirty now, man. It can't be a fucking languid process of us fighting mediocre opposition. They got their hands in the cookie jars. That's why we have to stand and not buy pay-per-views if we know for a fact the fights we want will be in jeopardy. All major pay-per-views on standby for me if I don't get Crawford versus Spence. I think even, like you even starting to hear like Andre Ward and other individuals start to be more vocal about it. It's just a damn shame when you got guys like, the superior boxing minds like the Max Kellermans of the world. You got the great boxers like the Tim Bradleys, former world champions, and other, other great fighters who've been coming to bat for the situation for years, and it hasn't come to fruition. But like I said a couple years ago, on Reaper Gang Radio, I straight up said it's literally gonna take until they literally do their whole freaking systematic round robin kind of practice over on the so-called that side of the street for us to get to the point to where we could even literally say, okay, now this makes sense. But the more and more we go through that, and the more and more they try to consistently throw somebody in Terrence Crawford way, okay, Terrence Crawford is 34 years old now. Ain't faced no punishment, still in his prime. But we shouldn't be in a position where we're watching great fighters get older and miss out on their prime, and miss out on not only because it shouldn't be a one-sided aspect to where one person is looking at it like, yo, I'm trying to be a legacy fighter in the legacy fight, and the other guy's looking at this shit like, yo, this dude is a wing dinner. I feel like, other people, promotional outfits as well, should have put more pressure on it, and I feel like fighters shouldn't be so PC. Like, since when did we come to boxing to where, like, so many boxers are so PC with their thought process when it comes to other fighters? I think the only motherfucker that don't do that is Shakur Stevenson and Chris Colbert. Them two might save something. And the only thing that's standing Chris Colbert, because look, once Chris Colbert knock out Robert Gutierrez in about 7-8 rounds, he the WBA guy. He the WBA guy. So what you got? You got Shakur Valdez, what's the little bum motherfucker holding the IBF, man? And and of course Chris. Them dudes want to unify. I'm hearing birds chirping where they saying Oscar Valdez won it. But if you look around, you know what I'm saying, and Oscar Valdez got to pick between Shakur Stevenson, Chris Colbert, and the other individual I can't think of name off the top of my head right now. Yo, we already know how Oscar gonna move, man. Oscar really don't want that shit, bro. He gonna have to be forced in a position where they gonna have to make him take it, man. For real, I don't care if people talking about they in talks or not. They gonna have to put a gun to that boy head and say, "Look, man, you over here, this top rank, we do boxing, and your motherfucking ass is gonna box. And I don't care if you gonna get white-tailed and you gonna have to quit on the stool or whatever, but you gonna have to take this shit. How about that? For real." Like, yo, that's what I'm saying, how fire it is right now. How much, yo, we got so much motherfucking potential for fucking forest fires right now in boxing. It don't even make no sense when you look at the landscape. Look at 130. Man, bro, the bounce room, the Gutierrez fight, the fucking Chris Colbert already with the way he fucking talk his shit, and the way Shakur talk they shit, and the way they already saying, yo, I beat you up in New Jersey, I beat you up in New York, yo, it's gonna feel like you get fucking jumped if you fucking with me, Shakur, so on and so forth, even though I think Chris Colbert will get beat, but look at the superior skill set amongst the two. Look at the high fucking, the high-speed chess match it'll be in the fucking boxing ring amongst those two IQs, and look what type of, you know what I'm saying, like, and look what type of prominence that shit will bring towards, you know what I'm saying, fandom in the sport as well. Like, more importantly, it's like this: boxing can only be held in the highest regard if we get the fucking the highest IQ fighters mixing it up, man. Like, I need to see some, you know what I'm saying, I need to see some Aaron Pryor, Alexis Aguayu type. I need that ferocity, man. I need that type of ferocity, man. I need that the Hawk Jackson type of ferocity, man. That Terry Norris type of ferocity. Them type of dudes was banging out in their prime, and that shit looked mad crazy. So crazy to where they had to, you know what I'm saying, like, for real, where you can't even really keep up with the punches because in these dudes' prime, they so fast. Like, I felt like, you know what I'm saying, like, people don't understand, like, what Mo Hooker and Virgil Ortiz really meant to the sport of boxing. Regardless of whether Mo Hooker was a champion, he came off of a loss or not. To Jose Ramirez, Mo Hooker was in his prime. Virgil Ortiz was younger in his prime. And look at the way that fight went for the entirety or in the duration of however long that fight was. It was an absolute firefight. It was absolutely magnificent, and there were a lot of eyes in attendance that couldn't keep up. But that is the value of two individuals in their prime when they mix it up. Motherfuckers is punching hard, they fucking hurt, and the motherfuckers, you know what I'm saying, and it's a level of skill that's on display that you're not gonna get if you just get it against, you know what I'm saying, if you can take a champion and he's just fighting your old regular Tom, Dick, and Harry. Fuck all of that shit. Need something more. You need more Mo Hookers versus fucking Virgil Ortiz taking place. We need a Chris Colbert versus Shakur Stevenson. Honestly, we need Oscar Valdez versus Shakur Stevenson. Shit. I don't give a fuck. Let Navarrete, Kiko Martinez, fucking Leo Santa Cruz, and all of them niggas get dirty. Let Naoya fucking Inouye and goddamn Nonito Donaire get dirty. You know what I'm saying? Let all them niggas get dirty. From goddamn 118 and beyond, these motherfuckers, we got the ability to really change the landscape of boxing right now. Like, even in all of my disappointment in boxing, when I sit back and I look at the current fucking state of heavyweight boxing and the boxers that are in division by division, we could have a true transcendence of greatness being bestowed back on the sport. But motherfuckers gotta want to see him do it. And motherfuckers got to stop making excuses for who they perceive to be great, when really what it is, let's be honest here. And one thing I've never done on Reaper Gang Radio is lie to motherfuckers. What does Canelo mean to a lot of these individuals' channels? Let's be honest here. Very beatable. Very awkward, very fucking slow, uses his fucking face to catch every punch. Navarrete is extremely beatable. And you know what I'm saying? Like, look, all it takes is one great boxer, one decent punch, you know what I'm saying, with movement, and you could be out of the way of Navarrete all night. Like I said, and I meant that shit. If Navarrete would have met Gary Russell Jr. and Gary Russell got two arms, you know what I'm saying, and he healthy, Navarrete can't beat Gary. Period. I don't care what nobody say. He will outbox him to a decision, 12 rounds nil. He wouldn't lay a fucking finger on him. He would be dying and trying to. And I like Navarrete. But I mean, like, let's be serious though, man. Motherfuckers gotta stop trying to hold shit up, bro. I don't give a fuck who Charlo ain't fought. I don't give a fuck who goddamn Demetrius Andrade ain't fought. And like I said, once again, from Dimitri Bivol to Ilunga Mukabu to any one of them who Canelo so supposedly picks, all of them present the same thing. Absolutely, they really don't bring anything to the fucking table besides the fact that they are tremendous talents. I would say 2 out of 4 of them. 2 out of 4 are tremendous talents. You know what I'm saying? Like, 2 out of 4 of them dudes are tremendous talents. And goddamn, Ilunga Mukabu and Jamal Charlo get stopped. They get stopped. Mark my words. If Canelo fights Jamal Charlo, he gets stopped. Not Canelo, Jamal will get stopped. Let's be honest here. Canelo does a lot for a lot of people's channels. And motherfucking, he's he's an essential piece to a lot of people's viewership, their subscription base, and their bottom line. So there is not going to be any push for anything other than securing positive narratives for what people perceive to be Canelo's greatness. I'm not going to bullshit you on this channel. I don't care if anybody don't like it, but I know what the fuck I see, I know what I hear, and I know the constant, you know what I'm saying, negativity instead of constructive criticism for succession in the sport. For real. Motherfuckers would be happy if fucking Canelo fought a goddamn janitor. Let's be honest here. If Canelo, it's like, okay, let's think about the Danny Garcia, Rod Salker situation where goddamn Teddy Atlas went absolutely berserk. Rod Salker was ranked like fucking number 70 in the world and grabbed this motherfucker out of some barn in Pennsylvania or some shit like that. Now imagine if goddamn Canelo would have done the same goddamn thing. Nobody would have had a problem with it and everybody would have said, well, he affords to pick and choose. Canelo don't fucking duck nobody. Canelo doesn't do this. And I'm not speaking in the sense of Canelo being a duck or ducking people or anything like that. I'm speaking in the sense of no matter what choice Canelo makes, people are going to okay that shit because he presents a very healthy status quo when it comes to their bottom line. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you're never going to hear any criticism when you go tune in on certain places on anything that Mr. Alvarez does. And I'm not fucking lying about it. I don't sugarcoat shit. This ain't gonna be no chance. This isn't gonna be a fake space, so I'm not gonna fake it now. And all I'm saying is that's the type of shit that's toxic to the motherfucking practice of boxing. It's so bad to where even when certain individuals do shaky shit, people are willing to be dismissive of it in their past. Not speaking of their present, but you know the shaky shit that Canelo or certain individuals have done, and people erase it all and sit up there and say, hey, you know, hey, this motherfucker pop, what is so and so and so and so and so. There's a level of escapism, and then, you know what I'm saying, people use other individuals for scapegoats when it comes to, you know, that level of protection, because he breeds a certain level of, you know what I'm saying, inflated viewership. And there's a certain thing that goes along with, as long as you go along with that individual, then you're going to have a certain level of people that are happy with you and are gonna go along with the narrative or whatever, no matter what's done. It doesn't matter if it was a Lunga Mukabu. It don't matter if it was a situation, if it was like a Rod Salker type individual at that way. Shit, Canelo would grab Mike Lee or Fagan boots, and individuals wouldn't have one thing to say about it. If it was on Cinco de Mayo, people would be very happy with it and tell me I'm lying. I'm telling you. Because if it truly was about great fights in the sport and nobody giving a fuck and being respectful of talent, then you would probably hear a level of constructive criticism when it comes to certain shaky shit that certain people do. But you never hear that level of constructive criticism. And you have to ask yourself, why is that? Because there's a level of a protected interest. Just like when it came to a certain other motherfucker who got very big-headed when it came to the practice of his sport, or this sport. And we all know who that particular individual is at 135 pounds with his fucking very delusional pops. We know exactly who I'm talking about here. And as soon as he beat Vasily Lomachenko, everybody went batshit nuts, and nobody had anything fucking to say about the dude. But then all of a sudden, when the mother gets found out, and I was saying this shit a long time ago, everybody disrespected fucking Devin Haney all across the board and just immediately hailed T.O. as he was the greatest fucking thing on the planet. And didn't have one negative thing to say about it. You want to know why? Because there was a certain dude's father who was willing to go channel to channel to channel to channel and sit on their platforms and talk to him 24/7. And all I'm saying is, motherfuckers like a nigga like me, when he's up on my channel, what did I do? I asked the tough questions for the time that I could. When he wasn't bitching and being belligerent and shit, sitting in the fucking dark. I heard his electricity was off at the time. I didn't sit there and try to hold his hands and be his best friend. I wanted to ask the tough questions and get the tough answers. And I feel like if everybody did that as well, we would still get the same amount of, you still had the same success in the sport, but it would be that much better because then, you know what I'm saying, you might change the tides a little bit. But nobody hear me though. I'm taking any money bet on Charlo if they want. Canelo will have strict rules in place to follow Charlo. And get the fight. Yup, Hopez and his delusional fan base. That's what I'm saying. And remember before, but there were only, and I truly, I mean this shit with all sincerity in the world because I'm a part of this shit. I am one of the only people that you can truly document and go back that heralded that kid, other than probably Bruce Vane, to beat Vasily Lomachenko. Pre-fight, during the fight, and all that shit. Nobody perceived him to win that fight. Nobody thought he had a chance. And then as soon as he won that fight, that motherfucker became the pride of everybody's motherfucking back pocket. The disrespect went out of control with Devin Haney. But then when the smoke cleared, what did we find out? Ryan Garcia, when I criticized him, and I said, well, what about him? Nobody believed me. Teofimo. And then Devin, the so-called email champion, the one who's fought world champions back-to-back now, former world champions back-to-back now, was the one who's receiving all the criticism. And the one who I've always said I feel like beats everybody at 135 pounds. But everybody makes excuses. And even now, right now, and you look in the current weight classes and how it sits, it says that George Kambosos is a franchise world champion at 135 pounds, and Devin Haney is the WBC world champion. But so that's a disputed claim. And do you hear people harping at the moon that George Kambosos needs to be fighting Devin Haney right now? Absolutely not. What are people trying to position? Vasily Lomachenko to be in that position instead of getting true succession for where the sport is supposed to be. So that tells you everything you need to say about the sport. Now I'm going to leave it at that because I'm tired and I'm going to get up out of here. But I kind of miss doing this shit, man. It's good to pop up and talk boxing every once in a while. I might even cut something up, man, because I don't know, man. I'm at the point where boxing is gonna be what it's gonna be. I had a long talk with my dad about this shit, and he gave me a lot of good advice when it comes to this stuff, man. And it's probably right where I stood mentally with it all anyway. And boxing is gonna be what it's gonna be. All I can do is just keep lending my truth and how I feel about the sport and how I feel as though things are pertaining to the sport and what's going on in it. And just know that, you know what I'm saying, I'll be back. The activity won't be as languid as it was or whatever. And motherfuckers is going to have to deal with me regardless. Up, down, you know what I'm saying, in between or whatever. I'm just not going to be so connected with what the fuck is, you know what I'm saying, what the fuck I'm not content with or whatever. It's going to be what it's going to be. I'll just have my 2 cents about it. And if it sounds pessimistic, it sounds fucking pessimistic. But the Reaper always going to be here, and I'm going to lend my perspective. And man, motherfuckers just gotta stop their criticism because they sound fucking crazy. And it's just like, bro, you just say, I've never heard grown men try to protect an individual who's supposed to be the #1 pound for pound fighter in the world. I've never understood that. And once again, when you look at the landscape and you look at everything that's going on, should nobody be upset? Everybody should be content with what's going on. And the fact that if you look at anybody that he's about to choose, all of them are in the same position. And technically, haven't done anything. So as we always say at the end of this shit, it costs you nothing to pay a nigga no mind. I appreciate everybody who tuned in with me on this late night. Ronald Finkley, appreciate you, Brody. You know what I'm saying? Jeff, appreciate you, fam. And everybody else who's in the building. Jared Hilliard, think BJ Ben was in here. Who else? Patrick Dyson. Y'all have a great night, man. Until next time. Bye, bye. You already know what it is. The motherfucking boss. Respect.